Here today with Coach James Gage of the Alvin Yellowjackets. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well, Tony. Thanks for having me here this morning. I appreciate you reaching out to me and setting this up.
You are welcome. So it's the spring, really busy time of year for high school coaches. You've got baseball, softball wrapping up, track and field, golf, graduation coming up, very busy. But at the same time, that means you're getting to see your football players who are going to be playing in the fall out there doing things. You're seeing them
Yes,
break,
sir.
you see them doing everything. So how's it going in the spring?
It's like you said, it's been a busy spring. So, on top of the softball, the baseball, that we started spring ball back on April the 17th. And so today will be our 13th, no, today will be our 14th practice, excuse me. So we're rocking and rolling. But, I have an added challenge. My wife's the head softball coach at Ridgepoint. They're playing in the third round of the playoffs. So, between spring ball here, our baseball softball team are in the playoffs, and I've got two kids under 3 years old that I'm having to help take care of right now. I'm burning the roads up between going to daycare, heading to her games, heading to our games. But it's fun. I grew up a coach's kid, and that's how I was raised. So I'm excited that my kids are getting to do the same thing. But yeah, it's been busy, but it's been a successful spring up to this point. And as we wrap up our spring games a week from today, we're excited about where we're at as a program.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. So you came in 2021 as the head coach there. 4-6, 4-6 doesn't sound overly impressive until you look at what the program had been up until that point. To get 8 wins, you have to go back 8 total wins. You have to go back to 5 prior seasons. So, kind of walk us through what it was like taking over the program there and what you've done to get things headed in the right direction.
Well, I came in 19 as the offensive coordinator, and the cupboard was really bare. We just didn't have a whole lot to work with. They had three kind of rough seasons prior to that. We added a fourth, rough season that first year I was here, and then year two was COVID year, so that added a lot of added distractions and challenges. But we ended up breaking a 30-game losing streak the last game of the year that year to Dulles, and the kids' whole mindset changed. And then that was December because again that was the COVID year, so everything was bumped back. And then that February I was named head coach. And so I think the familiarity of the kids and them knowing me knowing them, that helped us that off season get going. And the biggest thing that I wanted to do was just bring some excitement back. Whenever I took over, I wanted to give these kids something to be excited about. And so that first year going 4-6, there's people in Alvin that thought we won the Super Bowl. And so it was exciting, that first year. But as a competitor and as a coach, 4-6 was a great year for us. But we wanted to continue to get better and head in the right direction. And then we followed that up with another 4-6 year last year. But we lost A-Leaf Taylor, which we led at halftime, and then we lost a straight Jesuit, and we were up 14 points late in the fourth quarter. And so if we find a way to finish those two games and win, we're looking at 6-4, and we would have been in the playoffs. So we've come a long way, in the 2 years that I've been kind of the head coach here, but we're not where we want to get to yet. But that's the exciting part about being a coach, and the exciting part about being here is we've still got room to grow. But our kids see it. I don't know if they truly understood, but at the end of the season, how close they were to being a playoff caliber team. And so that's kind of been their whole motivation this offseason, is learning how to finish and get to that 5-5 or possibly 6-4 mark next year, and kind of go from there and see what we can do.
Now, if you don't mind, walk us through. Sorry, graduation's here in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you losing? Who might step into those roles? Who's coming back? Just kind of overall what the team looks like for 23.
Yeah, so I think our biggest loss is probably our fullback Deshaun Peterson. He was a second team All State fullback as a junior, and then followed that up with a first team All State season as a senior. So he was a 2,700-yard rusher and scored 30 touchdowns in 2 years. So losing him is going to be a big piece to our offense. And then we're losing Finn Matting, who was a first team All District tackle as a junior, and then we moved him to center. He was a first team All District center last year. So I think those are probably the two key pieces that we're losing on the offensive side of the ball. We're kind of right now this spring, we've got two or three guys competing for that center position, and then we've got two or three guys that are competing for that fullback position. And so We probably won't know the answer to who that is until the second or third game of the year, until someone kind of separates themselves. But it's been good competition this spring. Those were two positions that our kids knew were wide open. Like I said, the kids that are competing for those spots are doing some really, really good things and making it hard on us coaches to figure out, who's going to be there. But, I think that'll all play itself out. I think those kids, by week 2 or 3, will kind of settle in and we'll be able to figure out, who's taking over right there. And so Caden Hodson and Sammy Fernandez are kind of two kids that are battling out for the fullback position. Caden Hodson was a sophomore that played up on varsity for us last year. He was our backup fullback, played some running back, was on all our special teams. So he's doing some really good things. And then Sammy was our JV fullback. So he got every rep on the JV last year. So those two kids have had really, really good springs there. And then Yahir Meza he'll be a 3-year starter for us. He's started at guard the last 2 years. He's played some center this spring for us. If we can keep him at guard, we'd like to do that, but he's got a chance to help us out at center. And then we've got a young he'll be a sophomore next year named Jacob Baez. That's really doing some good things there at the center position. So Chris Macias is a kid that'll be a junior next year. Played defensive line for us last year as a sophomore, but we bumped him over to offense this spring, and he's doing some good things. So it's been a good battle at the center position for us as well. So those have been kind of two of the positions that we've really focused on this spring and trying to replace those guys on the offensive side.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of the teams in your district. If you don't mind, kind of give us a breakdown of your district. Who's in your district and what you expect to see from them in the fall?
Well, we've got a lot of speed in our district. You can go to the state track meet this week, and a lot of our schools are represented at the state track meet. That's just a testament to the type of kids that are in our district. Anytime you have Shadow Creek, Pearland, and Pearland Dawson on the schedule right at the top, those are 3 tough ones. And then you throw in Straight Jesuit, Naily Taylor, and Elsick, and Hastings. All those teams are competitive and equally like. And so week in and week out in our district, we feel like, we've got our hands full. But on the flip side of that, we hope that people are looking at the schedule and see Alvin on there, and they know they're going to be in for a battle on Friday nights as well whenever they play us. So, top to bottom, it's an extremely tough district. Like I said, you can look at the recent success of Shadow Creek, and then Pearland Dawson both have just phenomenal programs. Straight Jesuits had a lot of success in the recent years, and then the 3 A-Leaf schools, they'll run as good athletes out there on the field as anybody else you'll see. So, week in and week out, we got to show up and be prepared. And we know that we're not going to have the best athletes on the field, but, our goal is to outplay people and outcoach people. So, that's kind of our approach that we take each week.
All right. So let's back out to real big picture. You're a coach's son. So you've been around high school athletics for most of your life.
Yes, sir.
Or your entire life.
Yes, sir.
You've seen it at various levels. So what would you say is the biggest challenge facing Texas high school athletics right now?
So as a coach's kid growing up in the field house, I had 15 dads. Whenever if I needed a ride or if I needed someone to watch me, that was never an issue. But my dad coached until he was 65, 66 years old. A lot of coaches, that used to be the norm to coach into your middle 60s. But nowadays, you're seeing a lot of coaches get out, as soon as they can retire in their early 50s. And also you're seeing younger coaches that graduate college go off to try other things for 4 or 5 years. And then once they realize, hey, that's not what they want to do, they're going to get their alternative certification. So as a whole, we're not getting those younger coaches fresh out of college, and then coaches on the back end of their career getting out earlier and earlier. So there's a shortage of coaches, and that used to not be an issue. You used to post a job and you'd have 20, 25 people apply for it. This day and age, you post a job, you may get 5 people depending on what the job is. So, I've got a head position for our soccer right now, and I've had 2 applicants for it. And 20 years ago, you could post a head position and you may get 50 to 60 people that apply for it. So there's less and less coaches that are staying in the business or getting into the business. And so each year it's a challenge, not just for myself, but other coaches across the state. You see a lot of jobs that go unfilled just because the lack of numbers. And so, I think that's something that we've got to, as a coaches association, we've got to address and figure out how can we, keep coaches in it? How can we get younger coaches in it? Because again, you go to coaching school this summer, there'll be 2 resumes posted on the resume side, and there'll be 150 jobs posted on the back side. And so, to me, that's my biggest concern as an athletic coordinator. In the future of this business is just the rapid pace that coaches are getting out of it. So I think we've got to sit back and take a step back and look at, what can we do to make this profession better and more enticing for people to get into it and then also want to stay into it. So, it's going to be a challenge, but, I'm blessed here. I've got a great coaching staff. I'm only losing 1 off my staff this year. And so for me, that tells me that our coaches are enjoying it, having fun. And anytime you don't have to worry about replacing a lot of people and you have that continuity, I think that helps your program.
All right. So let's go from real big picture to small picture now. Let's try and learn a little bit about James Gage, other than he's the Alvin head football coach and he's a coach's son. What would you say your number one guilty pleasure is?
I'm a sweet tooth. I get that from my dad. I like a bowl of cereal before I go to bed. I like donuts. I like zebra cakes. I like chocolate. My secretary keeps a bowl of candy in her office, and I have to about 2 or 3 times a day. I just poke my head in there and go steal a piece of candy from her. So I've got a sweet tooth, and so that's kind of guilty pleasure number 1. Number 2, I'm a football junkie. It doesn't matter if it's XFL, USFL, college. If there's a football game on TV, I'm going to watch it. So my 3 kids, they don't stand a chance. They're, my wife being a softball coach and me being a football coach, we don't watch a whole lot of shows at our house. We're watching, whether it's the Texas Rangers, the Cowboys, whatever it is. If there's a sports game on, we probably have it on in our house. So those are kind of my 2 probably guilty pleasures.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Coach. Best of luck as you wrap up the 22 school year and move into the 23 season.
Tony, I appreciate you having me on today and appreciate everything you do for Texas high school football. You guys that cover us, y'all do a tremendous job, and we really appreciate, all the hard work and effort that you put into making Texas high school football the best in the nation. So we appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely.
LoneStarGridiron.com. Access the complete history of Texas high school football, over 100 years of information, win-loss records, coaching histories, individual stats, records, and more. Lone Star Gridiron, the authority on Texas high school football.